Good morning, boards of directors. This is Luis Rodriguez, and I am delighted to be here this morning to talk about getting storm ready with our subject matter expert today of PuroClean. And as it says on the truck, the paramedics of property damage. I am here with Ricardo Herndan. And Ricardo, good morning. How are you
Good
today?
morning. Good morning, Luis. I'm great, and thank you for having me, and thanks for the opportunity to speak about this important matter that we're just starting in June, the official hurricane season here in South Florida.
So it's a really timely call today, just ahead of the real busy storm season that we're expecting. So I hope that boards will take a moment and listen to what we're talking about because it could save them a lot of money, never
Yep.
mind damage, and hopefully it'll prevent injury as well.
Yes.
Uh, So, Ricardo, in terms of planning and being prepared, what steps should community associations take to prepare their properties for hurricane season?
Well, I would say first two things that are important. One is you have to have a mindset that has to be set to ensure the safety of the people. I mean, the residents, the employees, the board members, and everybody that resides in that, and the staff that resides in that property. That's one thing that is super important because that leads to everything else. Once you have that mindset, then you do whatever actions you have to make to ensure that.
So, if you have
Uh,
to get your head into it first and say,
yes,
this is a thing that
yeah,
we have, it doesn't take care of itself, you mean?
no, you have to think about others and have the goal to keep people safe, and then think about the rest of what's going to happen. Because the most important thing when a hurricane hits is to have to and be sure that the people are safe. They don't have any issues. They are their well-beings are probably the most important. Then you worried about the property and then everything else. But that's the first thing. Once you have that mindset, then you can start planning and doing everything else. One thing that is important, we are now probably finishing or in the middle of the budgeting season. So for every building, so you have to present the budgets for next year and you have to then approve them. So I would probably have a checklist of what are the needs for the building in terms of hurricane protection and hurricane season and put that in the budget. So once it's approved, then you can start acting and doing everything else because you already have a budget for that. So it's the time now to think about it and put it in your budget and put it for approval when the board, I think, is in September, when you approve the budget for next year. So that's also super important to have that in the budget, so you don't have to then waste time asking for additional budget or something that you forgot or you
Assessments
need.
or stuff
Yeah.
later. Sure.
Hmm.
It's the ounce of prevention versus pound of cure argument. You
Yes.
bet.
Okay. Then once you have to those things out of the equation, then you have to develop or update your plan if you have a plan. Some buildings have already a plan in place that has to be updated. Some don't have, that has to be created. So that's something that evacuation plans, changes that you make in your structure, your building, new things that happen in the building. You have to put all that in the plan on a yearly basis, so you can be sure that everything is considered. You have to have an emergency plan with key information that includes parking, access, power, shut-off valves, water, main contacts for different things, for insurance, for the authorities, the nearest hospitals. And then you need to have, obviously, all the contacts of your vendors, different vendors that you will need. So that's all part of the plan that you have to prepare in advance and have in place and update every year, because people move, people change, contacts change, vendors change. So you have to have all that before the season starts in a plan that everybody knows. You have to share it with the board members, with the residents, with the management company in the building, so you can then have all the information you need in one place before any event comes and starts. Okay, then obviously you have to communicate all that, and you have to put a communication strategy in place, how to communicate that to the residents, how to communicate that to your staff. You have to train your staff in what's the plan, what it includes, and what to do in case of an emergency. So that's something that you have to do. You have to be prepared to do that before anything happens. Once it happens, it's going to be chaos, and if nobody knows what to do and nobody knows who to call, that's going to be a problem. So you in advance, you have to have all that in place, and everybody has to know exactly what's their role and what's their responsibility on what they have to do in case of an emergency. So that's something that you have to also work on before. Another thing that is important, it's inspect your property, do a walkthrough before before any event, so you know exactly how is your landscape. If there are trees that you have to trim, if there are trees that don't have the roots properly, strong roots, so you have to take them out. How is your outside furniture, the things that you have in the roof, if they are anchored properly to the roof, or you have to reinforce that. Doors and windows, the shutters, if they work, they don't work, you have to fix them. If the doors and windows are properly sealed or not, you have to check that. So all that could prevent water intrusion and wind intrusion, it's something that you should probably check and do before the event and document all that. All documentation that you do, it's super important to know and to understand exactly what's happening in the building before, if you have any structure cracks, if you have any roof the cracks, or that has to be, any roof leaks or any potential roof leaks, even if they're small, that you have to fix. All that has to be taken in consideration and documented before any event happens.
Now, Ricardo, a lot of board people, and like anyone in a community, they might be in a condominium and they see everything every day, and their mind isn't created or hasn't been trained to watch out to look for those specific things. Is
Sure.
that something that they can talk to you about, that they can work with you about, so that you can help them identify these things ahead of time?
Absolutely, 100%. We at PuroClean, part of our offerings, we offer what we call an EMP, which is an emergency management plan that we do with buildings, and it includes a walkthrough it includes putting all this information together in a easy way and accessible way, and also do a walkthrough with the management and maintenance people, all the in all the structure of the building, and see exactly what are the pain points that the building may have, and
Got
document all
it.
that.
Got it. So, are there any specific maintenance tasks that can mitigate potential damage from hurricane? Something that, go do this no matter what.
Yeah, well, I would probably do, you have your list of vendors. So I'll probably make a, kind of a meeting with each vendor specialized in like roofing vendors, HVAC, landscape, elevators, power, additional power, all that, to review every aspect of the building. Like, you have a specific meeting with the roofing people to go over the roof and see if there's something that has to be repaired. Then you have to look for the drainage and the rain drainage system to see if it's okay, the pipes are okay, if you have to unclog all that. If it's clogged, you have to clean it to be sure that all the water is going to be able to go through that and not cause any floods because it's clogged. You then again review all the landscaping to see if there is a tree, leaves, or whatever that can damage the property with strong winds. Then elevator people, you should be able to park the elevators on a higher floor to avoid any damage to the elevators when if water comes into the building. So it will go into it won't go into the elevator. So those are details that you have to look. Now, again, if you have if you have regular windows and you have shutters, then call the company, the shutters company, the window company, so they can check all our sealed property and all properly, and all the shutters work properly. So you have a list of vendors, you should call them, and you should also have them, give them access to the property and not be afraid of that, because at the end, that's going to save a lot of time when something comes. If your vendors know your property and know exactly what they're dealing with, that will help you gain a lot of time and avoid secondary damage if something happens. It's different if nobody knows your property and then you call the vendor, hey, come to my property and we need to do this and that, and he doesn't know where to park or what kind of windows you have or what kind of secondary power you have if it's a power company. So work with your vendors, have them come to the building, to inspect whatever their specialty is, and have them know exactly how your building works. So that's going to save a lot of time when something happens.
That's really good advice because a lot of people don't realize that all this team of vendors that they hired are there to help them get through these issues.
Right.
It also sounds like one way that communities can make sure their emergency response plan is current is by reaching out to you, and you have a list of what needs to be there, because oftentimes communities don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And it's good to have someone who's constantly focused on these kind of things to
Mhm.
help walk them through it so that they're not missing anything.
Yeah.
In terms of insurance and financial considerations, we've had insurance webinars and all of that, and it's such a big issue today, not just
Yeah.
in Florida but throughout the country. What documentation should communities have ready to expedite insurance claims?
Okay. So basically, first you need to have your current insurance policies at hand. So you have flood insurance, liability policies. You have your building or your structure policies, your contents policies. You have to have that at hand. Then you should perform, as I mentioned, walkthrough of the property and have pre-loss or pre-storm photos and videos of anything that comes to your attention, everything that was damaged before, or anything that can demonstrate that the storm caused the issue that you are claiming. Then you should have an inventory of all your property assets properly documented and properly valued. You should have maintenance records, because insurance can say, hey, you didn't do a good maintenance of the landscape, or you didn't do a good maintenance of the roof, or of the windows, or the shutters, whatever. So it's good to have maintenance and repair records, so you can show that you're really maintaining your structure and maintaining all the things in the property. Obviously, you should have your vendor agreements, because they want to know that you are using legit vendors and you're using people that really are certified and insured and that work with you on the things that you're maintaining or the things that you're doing. Board meeting minutes, it's a detail, but all approvals and authorizations for vendors or for work or for maintenance should be documented also, so insurance know that you really take care of it. It's not like something that came out of the blue, but it's really something that you really discussed and you approve it. You should have obviously all the emergency contact list for your agents, your adjusters, your contractors, your legal counsels, all the teams that can help you in a claim. And of course, the post-storm assessments is the same walkthrough, but then you document exactly all the damages that you have in the building. And finally, all the mitigation and repair reports and that was performed. Like if you hire emergency service to do a mitigation or to repair something, then you should document all that and have all the documentations that are permissible without approval from the insurance. That's important. Don't do anything that needs approval before it's approved, because otherwise that you're going to have a problem. But mitigation, usually you can start without approval, because that prevents for secondary damage and for extended damages. So you have to document all that. So your mitigation company should give you daily field reports, dry logs, sketches, moisture readings, moisture mapping, everything that will help insurance understand what happened in the property, what causes the damages, and how they were mitigated. So that's all the things that you probably will need for to
Okay.
support your claim.
Now, how can boards make sure they have the right coverage in place before a storm hits?
Okay, I'm not an insurance expert,
Sure,
and
sure.
that's not my field, but I can give some pointers on that. One of the things that you should know is that first you should have obviously your building coverage or structure coverage. Then you should look for adequate flood insurance, even though there are buildings that are not on a street level. But anyway, you can have a big surge of water and it can get into the lobby or it can go to the lower levels of the building. So that's something that you have to. Well, a lot of buildings have their ballrooms and meeting rooms and card rooms and playrooms on the lower levels. So water can come from the street in a high water surge and it can flood all those. So you should have that in place. You should have also a contents coverage review. You should look for the values of the building. It's not a cost but a replacement value. So you have there are some things that insurance will consider that it's underinsured because it's at cost level and a replacement value. So that can also lead to a denial in the claim. Uh, you have to consider also the wind deductibles, which usually is a percentage of the amount that is insured, and that can be very high. It can be
And
5%,
Ricardo,
7%, or whatever. So all that has to be considered, and also things that are important. For example, if you need to relocate people, it's kind of you don't know if you have relocation coverage or not. That's something that you may apply or not. And also, one thing that is important that nobody considers is the advance payment policies of the carrier. When you have a big loss, you would probably want a carrier that gives you advance payments so you can deal with stuff in the meantime while the claim is processed. So that's something also to consider. So most probably get a professional, your agent or that will guide you on all this to ensure
right.
that you have the
And
right coverages and the right.
I don't expect you to be an insurance expert. That's not your lane, but thank you
Yeah.
for the overview. And for people who want to get more in depth on insurance, I recommend they take a look at our video that we did with Brown and Brown Insurance
Right.
on demystifying insurance.
Hmm.
They can get a lot more insight there. Um,
Yes.
so, what are some of the common mistakes that you have seen in your career when boards file claims, and how should they avoid them? Just uh, documentation, preparation, anything else?
Yeah, there are many things. Well, the first one that is the most common is delaying the claim. That's something that usually what happens is, oh, I don't see much damage. Let's see, let me think about if I want to claim or not. But then remember that damage is building up and you don't see probably the whole damage the first day. And it's important that you get an assessment of exactly all the damages that you have, the ones that you see and the ones that are hidden, and then open your claim and at least give a notice to insurance that it's that
Okay.
you may probably open a claim, and if you don't open it, that's fine. But if you open it, then they knew in advance that you were assessing everything to make the decision. So that's important. Then obviously we talk about documentation. So inadequate documentation. Make sure that all your vendors document whatever they're doing in a proper way, so you can demonstrate to insurance exactly what you did. Uh, I mentioned it before, starting repairs without approval. That's super important. There are
Mm,
some things that you cannot do until the adjuster goes to the field and assess themselves exactly what damages are and what causes damages. So don't try to speed up things because that can go against you. If you repair something that is not approved, you might not get approval. So that's
that could
something
be an
that,
issue. Mhm.
yeah, that's something that is important. Obviously, not getting professional assistance in your coverages. So you file claims for things that are not covered. You should have your agent or somebody that can assist you and say, hey, okay, this won't be covered, don't put it, this will be covered, then send it to the claim. So putting things that are not covered, it's not a good thing to do. Obviously, you have to be in communication, constant communication with the adjuster and your broker or your agent, and give all the information they request on a timely manner so they can process your claim faster. Remember, in this time is of essence because there are a lot of people filing claims. So the more accurate you are and the more information you provide, the faster probably you're gonna get your claim resolved, and you will be at the top of the lane and not at the bottom. So
So what you're saying in short is don't wait until you really have to reach out to deal with these things, because then you're going to be competing with
right,
every community that has to deal with it in that
right,
moment.
yeah,
And if you planned ahead and have everything lined up, it's the difference between an operation and an ordeal.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, Ricardo, in terms of vendor selection and response readiness, what should community boards look for when choosing a property restoration partner?
Okay, this is, I think, one of the most important. Well, response time, of course, is of essence. You have to have a company that's 24/7 on emergency service that you can call anytime and they will respond to you. That's super important. One of the things that I think is probably super important is the local presence. You want a local company. Usually during storms, there are a lot of people that come out of state just to see what business they can get, and then after they do whatever they want to do, they simply leave, and that's it. Then you never hear from them again. So you
Right.
want to have a local presence. You want to have a local company that knows the regulations, knows the state, know how everything works, know the laws, know the insurance companies, and all that. So it's important to have a local presence. Obviously, licensed, insured, bonded, all that. It's something that and that they have the level of insurance that you require. Every community is different. Every community has different requirements on levels of insurance and excess umbrella insurance. So you have to have a vendor that has that in place. Experience with communities that has worked with buildings, actually HOAs, multifamily condos that have experience working with that, not only residential, but on the commercial side of the building. Obviously, reputations, years in the business, experience, certifications, all that. It's super important. Communication, how they communicate, what kind of communication they have. For example, we do daily field reports. We document everything. We do 360 virtual tours of everything that every room that we go into when there is a loss. So the communication strategy of the vendor is super important. And the other thing is capacity, rapid mobilization, equipment, how fast they can come, and with that in place. And one more thing is important: reading contracts. You should have vendors that can have an agreement with you, so there are obligations on both sides. When something comes, you become a priority for the vendor,
Oh,
and
you mean
you
don't negotiate the contract if there's a storm at
no,
your window? Okay.
no, do it before. What
Okay.
happens with us with us vendor emergency vendors is that we have agreements in place with communities and associations, and those are going to be the priority for sure. So you don't want to wait not only for mitigation, for any trade. You don't want to wait until a storm comes to call them, hey, yeah, I would like to have an agreement, because they already have them in place. So they will give priority to the customers that have an agreement in place, and they will probably it's going to be difficult to deal with them in the middle of the storm. That's something that you don't want to wait for that.
So, Ricardo, how quickly can PuroClean typically respond after a major storm, and what factors affect the response times?
Well, basically, we respond pretty quickly. to the calls. So we're 24/7, and we have a when there is a storm, we try to respond within the first probably half hour to the call to understand what's happening and to understand what degree of damage you have. And then based on that, we then have a window of, I would say, between 2 to 4 hours to get to the place and do a full assessment of what's happening. That the only thing that will prevent us from doing that is obviously there are factors like road access, power availability,
Safety.
curfews, employee safety, which is the most important thing.
Sure.
So that and the extent of the damage in the affected area. So that will prevent us to do that, because again, we cannot go out until there's clearance in the roads, until police is determined that everything is safe to go. So again, as I mentioned in the beginning, safety is the most important thing. Then once that's cleared, we can definitely start doing whatever we have to do. Now, the other important thing, as I mentioned, our clients that have the agreement with us are the priority, so they're going to be the first to be served, and then we'll take it from there based on capacity, availability, and depending on the extent of the damages.
You had mentioned before about having an agreement in place
Yeah.
before the storm happened. So what kind of pre-storm agreements or retainer options does PuroClean offer?
Okay, so we have what we call a customer loyalty program. Basically, that's an agreement that has discounts, has we ownership. We take very pride that you have direct access to ownership. I'm one of the owners, so basically we are available, and me and my partner, for mostly every job or anybody that needs to talk with us. We're pretty available. We have 24/7 priority access. We have what we call a pre-authorization not to exceed amount in the agreement, which means that if something happens at 3 a.m. in the morning, we can go, we can stabilize, we can put equipment, and then in the morning we can discuss the scope and what's going to happen next. So we don't charge you. It's not like a blank check. So you know exactly, hey, if I call PuroClean, I'm capped at, let's say, $5,000, to say a number that makes you comfortable, and then we won't exceed that until we can discuss exactly the scope of the damage and has to be done. What happens is that we've faced many times, they call us, somebody, front desk call us at 11 a.m. on a Sunday, 11 p.m. on a Sunday, and there's nobody. There's not a manager, not a board member, nobody. So we cannot do anything until somebody authorizes us to do something. So this prevents that from happening. So in case of an event of this kind, when probably board members are not able to get to the building, or the authorization levels are not, we won't be able to communicate initially. If you have that in place, then we can go, we can start, and then without exceeding what amount we agree, and then we can then have a full scope, and we can discuss and move forward. But at least you'll be sure that will be in place. We stabilize the property, and then we take it from there. Obviously, we have a continuous communication with all the levels including your insurance, your board, your management, daily field reports. That's all included. They complementary EMP without cost. We do the EMP. We put a document together digitally and physically that you can access anytime. The emergency management plan that I talked before, which includes basically all the information of the building, all the contacts from vendors, from authorities, from board members, and from management, and everything that you need in an emergency. It's not a contingency plan. It's a complement of the plan that the building has. So many buildings have already a contingency plan. This is simply a document that have all the information you need in an emergency in one place, that it's accessible, updated, and you can act on it. Like, for example, if a vendor comes, where he has to park, what's the access, where is the shut-off valve for the water, where is the main power, where is the secondary power, where are the keys to different places. It happened to us in a building that we went, and the keys were in the management office. It had a code. Nobody had the code. So we couldn't access anything because the keys were there and the manager wasn't available. It was
Wow.
late night.
Okay.
So all those details are there, so you can act quickly. And for example, if you have one thing that we recommend is that you do an asbestos and lead paint survey beforehand, because if you have to demo something and you have to do something, then you already know what you're facing. And if not, you're gonna probably have to wait 3-4 days until that's performed, and you're gonna waste a lot of time, and that will lead to secondary damage or more damage than that it could if you have the information available. So all that is in that plan. So we do that as a it's complementary for our customers. So all that is included
In your
in our
service.
contract. Yeah.
Now, the storm has come.
Yeah.
It has done whatever it's going to do to your community,
Hmm.
and you're probably in shock. But if you're mindful, what are the first steps boards should take immediately after a hurricane?
All right. First one, ensure the safety of all personnel. That's super important. Once you have that, once you ensure that everybody's okay, everybody's fine, then the second thing is do an assessment of the damage. And these things are not necessarily in order. It will run in parallel, different things that you have to do. But assess the damage, the damages that you can see initially. Contact your insurance agent, so he knows, hey, this happened in the building. Let's
Let's
start
deal with it.
let's start the process to evaluate the coverages and claim and all that. Then contact your preferred vendors as needed, depending on the damage. Okay, you'll contact your, I don't know, your fire alarm people, your sprinkle people, your landscape, your mitigation person. Depending on the damage and depending on what has to be done, then contact your preferred vendors for each of the trades. Obviously, activate the emergency response plan that you have in place, which is okay. Start a communication plan. Have your, like, for example, you should have a person of the staff that lives near the property. That should be your first guy that goes to the property and see, and so you can have eyes on the field, and you can start assessing. So you should have a list in the plan. You should have a list of people. Okay, this guy lives near the building. Yes, that's our first call. Then we call the rest, but that's our first call. So that's things that you activate when you activate your emergency plan. You start doing all that. Uh, Start your communication with the staff, with the residents, and with the insurance, with the authorities as needed, depending on what is your need. Obviously, then after all that is done, start securing the property. Start addressing all the damages and start doing whatever you have to do to mitigate and to try to stabilize the property. And then after you deal with insurance and then you get approvals, then start the repairs and start all the things. But that can take time. Usually
Of
that
course.
probably takes time. It's not like,
Well,
but the most important,
and there are priorities. There are
yeah,
certain things which are higher priorities than others.
yes.
How does PuroClean prioritize its response efforts when there are multiple communities affected?
Okay, so we have obviously first, for again, I will repeat this because that's going to happen with us or with everybody else. Our customer loyalty program customers are the first priority. So we're going to deal with them first. So basically, we have a tiered approach as PuroClean. PuroClean is a franchise-based company. So we have 500 locations in all the United States and Canada, and we are one of the locals here in South Florida. So basically, we have a local response, which is okay with our team, our equipment, our resources. We respond to whatever we can respond. Then we have statewide support, so we can call other PuroCleans in the area to join us in the efforts and go to some of our customers. Then if it's a bigger than that, then we have regional assistance, so we can bring like East Coast PuroCleans down to Florida. They will be here in 4, 6, 8 hours, which is good, or 10 hours, which is good. In fact, we've responded to Texas, we responded to Louisiana, we responded to different places that are near here. West Coast, we've been in West Coast every storm and every hurricane. We've been in the West Coast, in Naples, Fort Myers, Tampa, helping local PuroCleans there. So it's PuroClean. One of the advantages is that it's a collaborative culture. So we collaborate with each other. So if we have something here in South Florida, Miami, we have people will come and assist us. Then we have national deployment. That means PuroCleans from other states will come, not necessarily from the east, but they will from the Chicago, from Alabama,
Wherever.
from different,
Yeah.
wherever, they will come also. And on top of that, our corporate office is in Tamarack. So it's like 30 minutes from here. So we can basically, we have trailers there with equipment, and we have all the support from the corporate office in our backyard. And we also partner with our sister company. It's called Signal Restoration. They're specialized in cat events, and they specialize in large commercial losses. So if something really big happens, we can go up to Signal, which is our parent company, and they specialize in losses that millions of dollar losses. So that's so we have a lot of resources that we can put together in a cat event like this when it's massive. For example, in the West Coast, I would say probably we have more than 30 PuroCleans that went there to help during Milton and Helene. We were one of those. Signal was there also, and PuroClean Corporate with the trailers, where 2 trailers were deployed to Tampa. So we have a very good response in terms of assistance when we need equipment, people, and labor. Also, we have agreements with national companies like Herc, Sunbelt, and United Rentals.
Oh, so you have partnerships with these companies.
Yes, we have partnerships with these companies, and we need power, we need equipment, we need whatever equipment we need. We have partnership with them, and we have partnership with one company that is specialized in water loss, in commercial water loss damage, which is called IDS. That specializes, have equipment in different places in the United States to deal again with large losses. So if we need specialty equipment for drying, we can call them, and they will come with their engineers and with specialty equipment to deal with a very large loss. So we can do a room, or we can do a whole building if it's the case without
as needed.
Yeah.
Now, Ricardo, oftentimes when there's a storm, there's damage that we're not aware of. We just can't see it.
Yeah.
What are some examples of hidden damage that communities might overlook in a storm?
Well, what happens, for example, if you have, typically what you don't see is water intrusion behind the walls. So when you have something that comes from the roof, and then you see some water in the lobby, that could, water could basically go from the roof and the lobby inside the structure, inside the walls, and you won't see it. We can detect that, and we can see it as part of the inspection or the assessment that we do. Remember that water starts on a point, and then it spreads, and it finds its way out. So you don't know exactly where it's going where it's going. So we can assess that, and we can see that. You can have, for example, a roof membrane that it's corroded, or it's loose, and then water can seep through there and go down. You can have an outlet that is not sealed properly, so water can come through that and then go down through the building. You can have a window or door seal that is compromised, and you don't see it, and then water can come through the wall from that bad sealed window, and again, you see the seal, but you don't see the water coming in. So it's there's a lot of places that you can have,
Sure.
the gutters, the drainage. You can have a pipe that breaks, that drainage pipe that breaks in one of the floors before the water goes out, and then that water starts coming through the structure, inside the structure. So
wow.
So it can be many things.
I have seen a lot of that, probably not as much as you have, but I hear what you're saying now.
You can even have a structural crack that you don't see. That it's just, we once did a house that ended up in lifting the floor in the dining room, and the water came the sprinkle systems of the landscape. All the water hit the structure. There was a crack, and the water was seeping through there for months. And they realized that when the floors start coming up. So it can be anything.
Wow. Well, with anything happening, we've been talking about the board, dealing with vendors and preparing with everything. But in terms of communicating with residents,
Mm-hmm.
and they're the people who are impacted by this the
Yeah.
most, obviously.
Yep.
What strategies can boards use to keep their residents informed before, during, and after a hurricane?
Okay. So in preparation before, obviously, there's buildings. Usually, they have a communication system that they use via text message or via email with the residents. So you can start sharing information with them on different things on how to prepare, what to look for, all that. You can do that through those channels. You can also usually buildings also have bulletin boards that they have like boards in the front in the lobby,
Mhm.
so you can put flyers, you can put different information. They also have places where they put the magazines and all stuff that comes to the building from outside. You can put also flyers in regards to hurricane. You have the Miami-Dade and Broward. Every county has their own like booklet,
Emergency
emergency.
notification.
Yeah, so you can share those with them. Then you can have your vendors having lunch and learns or having meetings with the board, with the management and the residents to explain to them, hey, what are best practices, what you should look for, what you should do before a hurricane, during or after. So we have a lot of material that we can share in that regard. And also it's important that you provide the residents with all the contact lists, that who should they call or what should they do if something happens. You should call
Okay.
management. These are the authorities. This is 911. This is the nearest hospital. This is this is the police. The things that may help them communicate with somebody in case of an emergency. That's important. One thing that
Well,
I forgot that is super important is that buildings should know the resident specifics. Like, you have people that maybe need a respirator or maybe need a specialty medicine or something that if there's no power they will be affected, or they don't have mobility, so they cannot leave their residence because they live in a high floor and
they can't.
they
Yes.
can't. So those are things that you should know as the building, because in the case of an emergency where there's no power and then you should try to protect them and help them the best way you can. So that I forgot
That's
that in
such
part
a
of the plan, you
great
should have
point,
that. Yeah.
especially in South Florida, that we have, a good percentage of elderly people,
Yes.
mobility issues,
Hmm.
language issues, health
Yeah.
issues. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Thank you for
That's super
bringing that
important.
up.
And as PuroClean, we're continuously monitoring the storms. So we have a in our corporate office, we have people that when season starts, they're continuously monitoring the storms, and we have daily calls when something is approaching. We have daily calls, and we get information that we can share with our customers via email or via you know whatever communication method we and they then can share with the residents. So we get, if there's a storm coming, we get calls every day since probably a week before, so we know exactly what's happening and how we're going to approach it as a corporation or as a local franchise. So we know we can share that with our customers, and we can tell them, hey, this is what we're seeing, this is what corporate is seeing, this is the approach, this is what's going to happen. So, and we have also a strategy from, I would say, T-7 until impact and the day after. So we have tasks every day as PuroClean that we follow to assist our customers and assist our in what needs to be done and what needs to be prepared if actually the storm is going to hit.
Wow, that's very thorough. And it also kind of addresses the next question that I had for you, which is how PuroClean supports boards in communicating restoration plans to their
Okay.
communities.
Well, basically, we have a community preparedness, like a building preparedness seminar or lunch and learn that we can share. We also have one for residents that
Oh,
it addresses before, during, and after. What are the most best practices? What you should do in terms of safety, in terms of how to address any issues that you have. And again, we have written flyers that we can share also on these topics. And I think the most important thing is the constant monitoring that we have on the CAT events, so we
mhm.
can start sharing with the communities. Hey, this is what's going to happen. This is what we're seeing, and this is the approach that we're taking. So we can all share all that with the communities that are our customers.
Ricardo, your information is valuable in helping communities become storm ready. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. I will be including contact information on this video. So if people have further questions or want to get their communities prepared, they can reach out to you. Obviously,
Thank
they
you.
can reach out to me. I'll be happy to talk to them. But thank you for taking the time to share your expertise and help communities become better prepared for what is shaping up to be a very busy storm season.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the
Thank
opportunity, Luis. And we are all this that we do. It's free of charge. It's for the community. The lunch and learns and the preparedness, all that. It's part of what we do to help and assist. So, any questions or anything that you would like to do, we're more than happy to assist everybody.
Ricardo Herndan, thanks again. I hope that you won't be too busy just for the sake of communities, but
Yes.
I'm glad that you are there to do what needs to be done.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining us for getting it right. This episode being storm ready. Thanks again, Ricardo,
Thank you,
and have
Luis.
a great day, everyone.
Have a great day.